The Wild West, a lawless land where justice was a bullet and survival was a gamble. In 1960, 7 gunslingers answered the call. Their story, The Magnificent Seven, became a legend, a testament to courage and brotherhood. But what became of the men who brought those characters to life? This is no ordinary Then and Now. We're diving deep into the remarkable careers and heartbreaking downfalls of these Hollywood icons. Eli Wallach as Calvera. Eli Wallach brought the character of Calvera to life on screen. Before his film debut, Wallach honed his craft at the dramatic workshop under the guidance of Erwin Piscator. He then became a founding member of the Actors Studio, where Lee Strasberg further shaped his acting skills. There, he explored method acting alongside Marlon Brando, Montgomery Clift, and his future wife, Anne Jackson. An interesting fact: Marilyn Monroe, a newcomer at the Actors Studio, befriended Wallach first. She even insisted on watching him perform an entire play backstage, eager to witness the techniques of seasoned actors. Through the studio, she also met Wallach's wife, Anne, and their friendship blossomed. Monroe even babysat their child on occasion. Wallach's film career kicked off with a controversial role in Elia Kazan's Baby Doll, 1956. The film raised eyebrows due to its suggestive themes, although director Kazan ensured Wallach never truly seduced his co-star, Carol Baker. Instead, their scenes focused on building unfulfilled tension. Wallach's final on-screen appearance came in the short film The Train, 2015. Here, he portrayed a Holocaust survivor who delivers a powerful message to a self-absorbed young man. Life can change in a blink. The short film premiered in 2015 after being shot in early 2014. Interestingly, between 1984 and 1997, Wallach even lent his voice to Toyota pickup commercials. Wallach and actress Anne Jackson, his frequent co-star, were married for 66 years until his passing in 2014. They had 3 children together: Peter, Catherine, and Roberta. Sadly, a stroke suffered years before 2005 left Wallach with vision loss in one eye. Eli Wallach passed away peacefully at the age of 98 in 2014. Steve McQueen as Vin Tanner. Vin, a key player in The Magnificent Seven, serves as Chris's right-hand man and boasts impressive skills in tracking and sharpshooting. In 1952, thanks to the GI Bill, McQueen embarked on his acting journey in New York. He honed his craft at Sanford Meisner's Neighborhood Playhouse and HB Studio under Uta Hagen. His first spoken line came on a theater stage in 1952, a brief Yiddish phrase meaning "all is lost," in a play produced by Molly Picon. Stella Adler also mentored him during this period, where he met Gia Scala. McQueen tackled diverse roles after his early days. In 1971, he starred in the racing drama Le Mans, reviews were mixed, followed by Junior Bonner, 1972, a story of an aging rodeo rider. He reunited with director Sam Peckinpah in The Getaway, meeting his future wife, Ali McGraw. McQueen then delivered a physically demanding performance as a prisoner on Devil's Island in Papillon, 1973, alongside Dustin Hoffman. Both of McQueen's final films, released in 1980, drew inspiration from real-life events. Tom Horn was a Western adventure, while The Hunter was a modern-day bounty hunter story. Tragically, McQueen passed away in 1980 at the age of 50. Despite warnings from his doctors, he went to Mexico for surgery on an abdominal tumor. The surgery, performed under a false name, proved too much for his heart, and he died of a heart attack shortly after. The El Paso Times reported he passed away peacefully in his sleep. Charles Bronson as Bernardo O'Reilly. Bronson joined the fight for justice in the 1960 film The Magnificent Seven, playing one of 7 gunslingers. After World War II, he took on various odd jobs until a Philadelphia theater group hired him for set design. This led him to explore acting, starting with small roles. He even shared an apartment with a fellow aspiring actor, Jack Klugman, who was honing his craft at the Pasadena Playhouse. Bronson landed his first lead role on television in 1960 with ABC's Man with a Camera, portraying Mike Kovac, a freelance crime photographer in New York City. The show ran for 2 seasons. He continued to secure leading roles, including When Hell Broke Loose, later in 1960. Interestingly, he also brought the outlaw Butch Cassidy to life in a 1958 episode of Tales of Wells Fargo. Bronson's final big-screen role came in 1994 with Death Wish 5: The Face of Death. Reviews weren't kind, with many finding the film repetitive, and Bronson himself seemingly tired of the character. However, he transitioned smoothly to television movies, taking on the role of patriarch Paul Fine in a law enforcement family trilogy from 1995 to 1999. Sadly, Bronson's health declined in his later years. Following hip replacement surgery in 1998, he made the decision to retire from acting. He passed away in 2003 at the age of 81. While pneumonia and Alzheimer's have been mentioned, his official cause of death lists respiratory failure, metastatic lung cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and congestive cardiomyopathy. Horst Buchholz as Chico. After returning to Germany for Ship of the Dead, 1959, Buchholz set sail for Hollywood. There he landed the role of a young gunslinger in The Magnificent Seven, 1960. This American Western was a reimagining of Akira Kurosawa's classic Seven Samurai, 1954. Buchholz took on the part originally played by Toshiro Mifune in the Japanese version. Before Hollywood, Buchholz built his experience by dubbing voices for foreign films and taking small uncredited roles in movies like Warum, 1951, and Adventure in Berlin, 1952. He later landed larger parts in films like Marianne of My Youth, 1954, Sky Without Stars, 1955, and Regine, 1956. The Magnificent Seven rocketed to success, and Buchholz went on to star in several Hollywood productions filmed in various locations. He appeared in the romantic drama Fanny, 1961, with Leslie Caron and Maurice Chevalier, and the Billy Wilder comedy 1, 2, 3, 1961, alongside James Cagney. While popular with American audiences, Buchholz's career trajectory took a turn. Scheduling conflicts forced him to miss out on iconic roles like Tony in West Side Story, 1961, and Sheriff Ali in Lawrence of Arabia, 1962, which ultimately went to Omar Sharif. In 1958, Buchholz married French actress Miriam Bru. They had a son, Christopher, who also became an actor, and a daughter, Beatrice. Despite a long-lasting marriage, Buchholz preferred Berlin, his beloved city, while Miriam thrived in Paris. Sadly, Buchholz passed away unexpectedly at 69 in 2003. Pneumonia developed after surgery for a hip fracture, leading to his untimely demise. Robert Vaughn as Lee. Robert Vaughn, who portrayed the troubled veteran Lee, was encouraged by his mother to pursue acting from a young age. She even coached him on Shakespeare's famous "to be or not to be" soliloquy from Hamlet when he was just 5 years old. His mother's support also helped him land roles on radio shows in the Chicago area. His radio debut came as Billy on the popular Jack Armstrong, the All-American Boy program. Vaughn's television career began on November 21, 1955, in an episode of the medical drama Medic. This marked the first of over 200 episodic television roles he would play throughout his career, lasting well into the mid-2000s. In 1956, he made his first guest appearance on the classic Western Gunsmoke, and returned a year later for a role opposite actress Barbara Eden. Vaughn married actress Linda Staub in 1974. They even appeared together in a 1973 episode of The Protectors. The couple adopted 2 children and settled in Ridgefield, Connecticut. Actress Joyce Jameson was also a significant part of Vaughn's life in the late 1960s. She even guest-starred alongside him in an episode of UNCLE. For many years, there was speculation that Vaughn was the biological father of British director Matthew Vaughn. However, this was never confirmed. Sadly, Robert Vaughn passed away in a hospice in Danbury, Connecticut, in November 2016. He had been battling leukemia for a year and died just 11 days shy of his 84th birthday. James Coburn as Britt. James Coburn brought his knife-throwing skills to life as Britt in the film. His acting career kicked off on television in 1953 with Four-Star Playhouse. Interestingly, he landed a razor commercial by shaving off 11 days of beard growth in a record time, even joking that he had the most teeth of all the candidates. Coburn's film debut came in 1959 alongside Pernell Roberts in the Western Ride Lonesome, quickly followed by another Western, Face of a Fugitive. He then landed a notable role in the war film Hell is for Heroes, 1962, with Steve McQueen. This collaboration continued with another war film, The Great Escape, 1963, directed by John Sturges. Coburn also narrated Kings of the Sun, 1963, for the same production company. Coburn showcased his versatility by playing a villain in Charade, 1963, with Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn. He then transitioned to a comedic role as a naval officer in The Americanization of Emily, replacing James Garner. This performance earned him a 7-year contract with 20th Century Fox. Coburn married twice. His first marriage to Beverly Kelly in 1959 lasted 20 years and resulted in 2 children. In 1993, he married actress Paula Murad Coburn, and they established the James and Paula Coburn Foundation together. Sadly, James Coburn passed away from a heart attack in 2002 at the age of 74. His wife, Paula, followed him less than 2 years later, losing her battle with cancer in 2004. Brad Dexter as Harry Luck. After serving in World War II, Brad Dexter, then known as Barry Mitchell, landed a role in a Roy Rogers Western, Eldorado, 1946. He also used this name in Sinbad the Sailor, 1947. In 1949, he appeared on Broadway in Magnolia Alley. Dexter shed his old identity in 1950, taking on the name Brad Dexter for his villainous role as a detective in The Asphalt Jungle. He continued to build his resume with parts in films like 14 Hours, 1951. His big break came as a villain in RKO's The Las Vegas Story, 1951, alongside Victor Mature and Jane Russell. RKO liked his work and cast him in a similar villainous role in Macau, 1952, with Russell again, even signing him to a contract. Dexter stepped into historical territory in 1963, portraying California Supreme Court Justice David S. Terry in an episode of the anthology series Death Valley Days. The episode explored the rivalry between Terry and anti-slavery U.S. Senator David C. Broderick, who died after a duel with Terry in 1859. An act of heroism in 1964 led to a unique friendship. While filming None But the Brave, 1965, Dexter saved singer Frank Sinatra from drowning in Hawaii. Grateful for his bravery, Sinatra made Dexter vice president of Sinatra Enterprises. Dexter's love life was eventful. He had a brief marriage to singer Peggy Lee in 1953. In 1971, he married star-kissed tuna heiress Mary Bogdanovich, remaining with her until her death in 1994. Later that same year, Dexter married June Dayer, his wife until his passing. Brad Dexter sadly succumbed to emphysema in 2002 at the age of 85. Natividad Vacío as Villager. While Natividad Vacío's most famous role might be Miguel, a townsperson in the classic Western The Magnificent Seven, 1960, his career stretched far beyond that. His acting journey began on television in 1950 with an episode of The Lone Ranger. He showcased his versatility throughout his career. He played a pivotal role in the 1953 film noir The Hitchhiker, directed by Ida Lupino. He even had a recurring role as a gardener named Frank Smith, pronounced Frank by the characters, on the sitcom Father Knows Best. Television became his primary stage, although he occasionally appeared in films. In 1988, he took on the role of Onofre, a one-armed man in Robert Redford's film The Milagro Beanfield War. He was part of a group nicknamed the Senile Brigade. Vasio was a close friend of George Reeves, the star of Adventures of Superman. They met at Pasadena Junior College, and Vasio, known by the nickname Nati, would often entertain Reeves with his singing and guitar playing. Reeves, a quick learner, would join him in playing and singing Mexican songs. Interestingly, the character of Vasio was even portrayed by actor Diego Fuentes in a few scenes of the 2006 film Hollywoodland, which explored the life and death of George Reeves. Vladimir Sokolov as Old Man. After graduating, Vladimir Sokolov landed a prestigious role as an actor and assistant director at the Moscow Art Theater. He later moved to the Kamerny Theater within the same decade. In the early 1920s, he toured Germany with his theater group. This trip led to a meeting with influential director Max Reinhardt, who convinced Sokolov to stay in Berlin. There, Sokolov thrived in stage productions and began his film career in German and Austrian films like The Love of Jeanne Ney, 1927, and The Ship of Lost Souls, 1929. However, the rise of Nazism forced Sokolov, who was Jewish, to flee Europe. He found refuge in Paris in 1932, where he continued to act on both stage and screen. In 1937, he immigrated to the United States. Despite limited English upon arrival, Sokolov's talent shone through. He landed a leading role in Orson Welles' production of Georg Büchner's play, Danton's Death. That same year, he achieved his big break in Hollywood, portraying artist Paul Cézanne in the English-language film The Life of Émile Zola. From 1937 to 1950, Sokolov graced the Broadway stage in various productions. He also seamlessly transitioned into American films, portraying characters of diverse ethnicities. He himself estimated playing characters from over 35 nationalities. Some examples include Filipino, French, Greek, Arabic, Romanian, and Chinese. Sokolov's final film appearances were alongside Yul Brynner in Escape from Zarain and Taras Bulba, both released after his passing. Vladimir Sokolov, a versatile actor with a long and impressive career, sadly passed away from a stroke in Hollywood, California in 1962. Pepe Hearn as Tomas. Pepe Hearn, the actor who portrayed Tomas, was born in New Jersey in 1927 to Spanish immigrants. His family originally came from the Canary Islands. He began his acting career at the young age of 21 with a role in Bodyguard, 1948, and continued working steadily for nearly 4 decades. Director William A. Sider gave Hearn 2 of his most significant film roles in the 1950s, Borderline, 1950, and Make Haste to Live, 1954. While Tomas might have been one of his later film appearances, Hearn found more consistent work on television. He guest-starred in numerous series throughout the years, including The Rifleman, The Fugitive, I Spy, The High Chaparral, Bonanza, The Streets of San Francisco, Lou Grant, The Bionic Woman, and even Charlie's Angels. His television career extended into the 1980s with appearances on shows like Murder, She Wrote, and Hill Street Blues. Sadly, Pepe Hearn passed away in Los Angeles, California in 2009. Robert J. Wilk as Wallace. Robert J. Wilk's imposing presence brought villains and authority figures to life on screen. His film career began in the 1930s with stunt work, and he transitioned to on-screen roles soon after, appearing in San Francisco, 1936. He quickly became a familiar face, often playing tough characters. A notable example is his role as one of the 3 men waiting at the station, alongside Lee Van Cleef and Sheb Wooley in High Noon, 1952. Wilkie wasn't limited to westerns. He also appeared in films like From Here to Eternity, 1953, and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, 1954. In From Here to Eternity, his character sets the stage for a pivotal plot point. In 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, he played the first mate of the Nautilus, famously warning Captain Nemo of a giant squid and expressing loyalty during Nemo's final stand. Beyond Westerns, Wilkie found work in adventure and drama series like U.S. Marshal, Peter Gunn, Tarzan, Bourbon Street Beat, 77 Sunset Strip, and The Untouchables. He even played a villainous role in an episode of Adventures of Superman, shoving characters into a steam cabinet. Wilkes' television career extended to comedies as well. He appeared in shows like Perry Mason, My Three Sons, and The Lucy Show, portraying characters like a deputy sheriff and a golf instructor. His final film role was in the 1981 comedy Stripes. Sadly, Robert J. Wilk passed away from cancer in Los Angeles, California in 1989. Whit Bissell as Chamley. Whit Bissell brought The Undertaker in The Magnificent Seven, 1960, to life. But his talents extended far beyond the silver screen. While serving in the U.S. Army Air Forces, he even performed in the Broadway show Winged Victory. Bissell's film career began in 1943 with Holy Matrimony and spanned hundreds of roles. He carved out a niche for himself in low-budget sci-fi and horror flicks, taking on characters like a mad scientist in I Was a Teenage Werewolf, 1957, and Professor Frankenstein in its sequel that same year. In 1960, he joined the cast of George Pal's The Time Machine, playing Walter Kemp, a friend of the time traveler. Interestingly, he returned to the story in a 1978 TV movie with a more modern setting, even reprising his role as Walter for the documentary Time Machine: The Journey Back, 1993. This marked his final acting credit. Bissell wasn't just a talented actor, he was also a fan favorite. He attended New York City's Telefantasy Con in 1975, met fans, and even signed autographs for free. His achievements were recognized with a Lifetime Career Award from the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films in 1994. He also held leadership positions within the Screen Actors Guild and the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Bissell was married 3 times and had 4 children: Kathy Marden, Victoria Brown, Amanda Whiteley, and his stepson, Brian Forster, who went on to play Chris Partridge on The Partridge Family. Sadly, Bissell passed away from Parkinson's disease in 1996 at the age of 86. Bing Russell as Robert. Bing Russell, the actor who portrayed Robert in the film, began his career with a role in Cavalry Patrol and some uncredited parts early on. In 1963, he landed a role as a Chicago mobster named John Quigley in the episode 5 Tickets to Hell on Jack Webb's anthology series G.E. True. The episode followed Quigley's violent robbery and the pursuit by Police Lieutenant Juan Garcia, played by Carlos Romero. Russell had a brief appearance in the original pilot episode filmed for The Monkees TV show. He played Rudy, a record store owner and the band's manager. However, the manager character was dropped when the series was picked up, and Russell's part wasn't included in the final version. Interestingly, the original pilot with Russell's scene still airs occasionally. Years later, Bing Russell would play Vernon Presley, father to his son Kurt's portrayal of Elvis Presley in the television movie Elvis, 1979. This wasn't their first time on set together. As a child actor, Kurt had even met the real Elvis Presley while filming It Happened at the World's Fair, and Bing fondly recalled Elvis being a fan and asking to meet him. Bing Russell was also passionate about baseball. He held open tryouts every June for his independent team, attracting former and aspiring players. The team and footage of Russell were even featured in the documentary The Battered Bastards of Baseball, 2014. Bing Russell met his wife Louise Lulu Crone in 1945 while working at a restaurant in New Hampshire. They married in 1946 and had 4 children, including actor Kurt Russell. Sadly, Bing Russell passed away from complications of cancer in 2003. Val Avery as Henry. Val Avery, the actor who played Henry the corset salesman, came from Armenian heritage. His parents, Megerdich and Aruziag der Abrahamian, immigrated to the United States, with his father fleeing the Armenian genocide. Val's early passion for acting led him to perform in plays with the Armenian Youth Federation. After serving in World War II, he honed his craft at the Bessie V. Hicks School of Drama in Philadelphia. Avery was known for portraying tough guys and everyday working people. He played policemen, thugs, mobsters, bartenders, and blue-collar workers throughout his career. His television credits include iconic shows like The Twilight Zone, Columbo, The Untouchables, The Fugitive, Gunsmoke, and many more. He also appeared in films, starting with an uncredited role in Humphrey Bogart's final movie, The Harder They Fall, 1956. Avery collaborated with director John Cassavetes on 5 films, including Faces, 1968, and The Killing of a Chinese Bookie, 1976. On the stage, he found success in a revival of The Front Page on Broadway, 1969-1970. Val Avery was married to actress Margot Stevenson until his passing in 2009. Their daughter, Margot Avery, also followed in her parents' footsteps and became an actress. Val Avery sadly passed away at the age of 85 in his Greenwich Village home in New York City. Valentin de Vargas as Santos. Valentin de Vargas, who played Calvera's henchman Santos, began his acting career while still a student at Loyola Marymount University. He saw a flyer advertising auditions for a high school student role in The Blackboard Jungle, 1955, and landed his first film credit that way. Early on, he had several uncredited film appearances and guest roles on television shows. A turning point came in 1958 with his role in Touch of Evil, where he not only met his first wife, actress Arlene McQuaid, but also established himself as a recognizable actor. The 1960s saw de Vargas continue to build his resume with appearances in popular shows like Bonanza, Daniel Boone, The Wild Wild West, and Mission Impossible. He eventually transitioned away from acting and ran a real estate company named Schubert de Vargas Realty in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Interestingly, he also joined the star-studded cast of Howard Hawks' Hatari in 1962. Valentin de Vargas sadly passed away in 2013 at the age of 78 after a long battle with myelodysplastic syndrome. His funeral service was held at Santa Fe National Cemetery. He was predeceased by his first wife, actress Arlene McQuaid, in 2014. Valentin de Vargas was also the nephew of actor Don Alvarado, John A. Alonzo as Miguel. A turning point came on the set of The Magnificent Seven, where Alonzo had a bit part. He started his career on the ground floor at television station WFAA in Dallas, working behind the scenes. But he quickly proved his worth, not just by building sets, lighting the stage, and moving cameras, but also by directing cooking shows and programs for kids. Eventually, he and actor Hank Williamson teamed up to become a popular comedy act. Alonzo became the voice and puppeteer of the sassy Senor Turtle, who, along with Williamson as his partner, introduced movies and cartoons. In 1956, their show got picked up by a Hollywood station, but it only lasted a season. So Alonzo took on various jobs for a while, including still photography and acting. He appeared in several well-known shows like The Twilight Zone, Combat, 77 Sunset Strip, and The Alfred Hitchcock Hour. This pivotal encounter, along with a brief chance to work with James Wong Howe a few years later, finally sparked Alonzo's passion for cinematography. By the mid-1960s, he was shooting numerous documentaries for National Geographic and the David L. Wolper Company, and he went on to significantly influence the innovative visual style of New Hollywood that emerged in the late 1960s and early 1970s. His straightforward and uncluttered style, combined with his understanding of acting from his own experience, made him a highly sought-after director of photography. On top of that, He wasn't just one of the best cameramen using handheld techniques in Hollywood, but also a forerunner in using high-definition digital cinematography. In 1993-94, he shot the first-ever American television movie in HD World War II, When Lions Roared, for NBC. Alonzo passed away in 2001 after a long illness at his home in Brentwood, California. Perhaps his most famous student is two-time Oscar winner John Toll, who started out as Alonzo's assistant on films like Black Sunday, Norma Ray, Tom Horn, and Scarface. In 2007, director Axel Schill directed a feature-length documentary about Alonzo's life and work, titled The Man Who Shot Chinatown, The Life and Work of John A. Alonzo, Yul Brynner as Chris Larrabee Adams. The characters in The Magnificent Seven, particularly Chris, embody the classic Western hero archetype. These figures are known for being unwavering, focused, self-sufficient, powerful, loyal, and upstanding, along with possessing a range of other admirable qualities. Chris exemplifies the crucial difference between legal codes and ethical principles, a concept explored in 1924 by British jurist Lord Moulton, who differentiated between the realms of law and morality. Brynner's acting career began on Broadway in 1941 with a role in Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. Thankfully, his lines were minimal as his English was developing, and he had a noticeable Russian accent. This role allowed him to add English to his multilingual repertoire, which already included Russian, French, Japanese, and Hungarian. The play, along with many other Broadway productions, closed after the attack on Pearl Harbor when the U.S. joined World War II. Brynner ventured to Italy to film the spaghetti western Adios, Sabata, 1970, and co-starred with Kirk Douglas in The Light at the Edge of the World, 1971. He continued to secure lead roles in Romance of a Horse Thief, 1971, and another western, Catlow, 1971. Following Night Flight from Moscow, 1973, filmed in Europe, Brynner landed a now iconic character in the cult classic Westworld, 1973. He portrayed the Gunslinger, a deadly robot. His subsequent films, The Ultimate Warrior, 1975, and Future World, 1976, built upon this performance. Brynner returned to Broadway in a major flop, the musical Home Sweet Homer. His final film appearance was Death Rage, 1976, an Italian action movie. In 1983, at the age of 62, Brynner married his fourth and final wife, Kathy Lee, born 1957, a 26-year-old ballerina from Malaysia whom he met during a production of The King and I. They remained together until his passing. Close friends Meredith Disney and her sons joined Brynner and Lee for their final performances of the play. Brynner succumbed to lung cancer on October 10, 1985, at the age of 65. We traveled back in time to meet the phenomenal cast of The Magnificent Seven in their prime, ready to face down villainy in 1960. If you dug this video, hit that like button and subscribe for deeper dives into classic film casts.